Hello everyone and welcome back to the Second City podcast with me, Callum Byrne.
And myself, Daniel Sketchley.
So we're doing something slightly different this week. So we're not really going to talk about the first couple of games of the season in the EFL. Premier League hasn't kicked off yet. That's happening in a matter of hours. In fact, it's just the first game of the season has just kicked off. We're going to be talking about, as you know, because you just clicked on the video, is the Birmingham City Amazon documentary, which is Karen Brady and the Blues built in Birmingham. Sorry, the wrong Brady. So many Bradys own Birmingham City these days.
I've had so many Blues fans make that joke.
Really?
But I was like, I'll let him have his moment. I knew he was looking forward to it. Yes. How are you, Carl? You all good?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
I slummed it through the documentary just for the podcast. No, to be honest, it came out at a really bad time. I was moving house, which I think we've mentioned.
Yeah.
So trying to watch a 5-hour-long documentary
About Blues.
Yeah, sure. While moving house was not what I was hoping for. But I've done it, we're here, we're in the studio, we're in person for it. I've accidentally worn blue.
I went like all out, like blue shirt, backdrop. Yeah. I forgot Callum was travelling from his digs down south. Not just for this, because you are going to the Villa game tomorrow, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, as Cal says, we're going to talk about the documentary and so on. At the end of, at the end we'll have because obviously Villa haven't played yet at the time we're recording at all. Blues played. We played Ipswich. We played Sheffield United in the cup. A few other bits and bobs that have happened as well. New kit, Bielik, all that stuff. We'll touch on it very briefly. But as Cal says, this is mainly going to be about the documentary. So stick around till the end for all that as well, because that will be obviously worth touching on very briefly. It's been a very eventful first week or so, let's say. Yeah. But so obviously the documentary, Cal. I did. If you haven't seen it, by the way, I did my sort of, because I got to watch it straight away. I did my opinions on it, my sort of my review of it. Check it out on the channel, on wherever you listen or watch. It'll be our last video, episode 2 of series 3, where I kind of went through my thoughts. I was mostly positive on it. Had some drawbacks. Obviously, looking at it from a Blues fan's perspective. Did you watch it, Cal? And do you know what my initial thoughts are coming into this?
I don't know what your initial thoughts are. So this is exciting.
Okay, this is good. So we're going to actually get to discuss it. So, What did overall thoughts? What are your overall thoughts on it?
There's bits about it that are really good.
Yeah, sure.
And the way that I watched it as well is you have to bear in mind that it is also a bit of a brand piece.
Yeah.
So it's very PR led as opposed to it being like a Sunderland. It's never going to be like a Sunderland Till I Die, because I think that my personal opinion on that is that they tried to do like a Welcome to Wrexham and a Built in Birmingham, and because the season went so badly, it ended up being something completely different.
Yeah.
Something I will say about this is I think this is series 2.
Yes. So you mean, what I said in my review of it was, I wonder if the initial plan was to make a documentary about 23-24.
Yeah.
And then it went so bad that because we know that they were there filming it. We know we can see it. Like that's not like stuff off Blues TV or whatever. That's like, you can tell that they're filming it, the stuff with Rooney and Brady and stuff.
Yeah. This was meant to be series 2.
Yeah, and they've reworked it to try and get both series in. So my biggest criticism of the whole thing, and I did enjoy the documentary and I was mostly positive on it, my biggest criticism is they skim over 23-24 very quick.
Yeah, but what I would also say on that is, I'm glad, because we know they were filming, it's obvious they were filming, it would have been very easy to pretend they didn't film it and not include it at all.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, and I said this in the review, you mentioned Sunderland Till I Die, and that is the best one still of all these. I haven't actually seen Welcome to Wrexham, I must admit.
I haven't seen Welcome to Wrexham, but I know enough.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is very positive on it, but I think the Sunderland Till I Die, again, that's the best one because everything went wrong in it, and that was fascinating. And someone at the club signed off on that with no clue as to what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah.
The All or Nothing series, Man City, Spurs, they are products, and so is this Blues one. And I think you kind of just have to accept that straight away. The ultimate goal of it is to drive revenue and make the club look good and gain fans. Yeah. Sunderland's wasn't. Sunderland was, because Sunderland, you can tell, Sunderland had nothing to do with it really. They signed off on it, and then
thinking they were going to get promoted.
Yeah, and thinking, we'll trust these guys, and that must have been a PR disaster, and heads must have rolled for that. Yeah. The mad thing that makes it even more mad is they did it again for a second series. They did the exact same thing again, which is crazy. But yeah, for me, as much as I enjoyed the documentary, and it's an interesting insight, and there's some good stuff in it, nothing really
It's nothing groundbreaking.
No, and because it skims through 23, we know, because we're fans of football and we live in the area and we keep up with all this stuff, we know how awful 23, 24 was, how crazy it was, and how it's a years-long story. They skim over the most crazy season Blues have ever had in one episode.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm trying to look at some of my notes. There's some really interesting stuff in there, and some bits that are really great. Weirdly, some of the best things aren't to do with the stuff that's happening on the pitch.
Sure.
Like episode 1, they talk about they've got the old clip of Ron Saunders, which was amazing. You know, former Villa manager, former Blues manager, talking about the curse of St Andrews. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Sure.
And things like that were brilliant. I'm glad when they do touch on sacking John Eustace, not in the detail that you'd like them to, because obviously that decision is a PR disaster for Knighthead and for Brady. Although Tom Brady seems to act like the stuff with Rooney is like, who is this guy? As if he'd been there the whole time, when it's someone he had a part in appointing.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm glad
did he though? I doubt he did.
Well, this is the thing. The worst part about this documentary, by far and away, is Tom Brady.
Do you think? Right.
I find him extremely unlikable.
Okay.
I think he comes across... Are we having an explicit podcast?
Oh, I mean, always.
He comes across as a real dick, and there's some points there's some points that I'll touch on where it seems very... I don't know if out of touch is right, but... I haven't watched Welcome to Wrexham, but there's bits in, I think it's episode 3, where there's the first Wrexham game, and
episode 2, yeah.
Episode 2, Rob McInerney comes over. It's little things, but like Rob McInerney calls it football. Tom Brady at no point calls it football. He consistently calls it soccer. Right. It's a little thing, really annoys me. And if you're going to own an English football club, what does it say on the badge?
Birmingham City Football Club 1825.
Doesn't say Birmingham City Soccer Club. I don't know. It just seems that he can't put aside, I'm American, I play the only football there is.
Sure.
That's just how it comes across to me. There's a bit where which episode is it? I think it might be 4 or 5 when here we go. You had a draw with Stockport, who were a promotion rival around Christmas on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
In the freezing cold, and he's on a beach in Dubai, slagging it off, going, "This is terrible. This is rubbish," and it's just a bit. It's a bit like that Apprentice episode where they go to Dubai. This is a few years ago. They go to Dubai, and then it finished, and then it was a cost of living crisis documentary on the news straight afterwards, and it's a bit like.
That's a good comparison. Yeah. We'll get into that a bit more. I've got some counter arguments to that, or points to expand on there.
Yeah, those were some things that really came to mind. I think maybe it suffers as well is you were too good last year for this documentary to really work, and you were too bad in the season before for them to want to include it.
To me,
there's no jeopardy.
And I completely agree. And to me, that is so. I said in my review, I'm going to say it loads of times, but it's true. I agree. We were so bad in 23-24 that they didn't want to do a documentary on just that. We were so good in 24-25 that you kind of couldn't just do that on its own. So why not make an 8... This is 5 episodes long. Yeah. Why not make an 7, 8 episode season? Two or 3 episodes on 23-24, see it all go wrong, and then the second half of the series is the revival. Yeah. That to me is the logical thing to do. Really, it's only... Like you say, this is really only about the 24-25 season when we lost 3 league games. You know, that's... your point about... Brady's on the beach and all that stuff, and I did say that it's a jarring. I agree. The best stuff is things like the Gypsy Curse stuff, and then there's some great stuff in episode 3, which is kind of more about the fans.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Tom Brady on his yacht or on the beach talking about the NFL. It's a very jarring, and you would think during the NFL sections I'm watching a Blues documentary here, and I've never really been into American football. I kind of admire it. I respect that people are into it. It's just never quite been my cup of tea. So it's a very alien world to me. I would forget I'm watching a documentary about my team in that moment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought the comparison to The Apprentice was really interesting because I don't know what you thought about, and maybe we'll get onto this a bit more. I don't mind Tom Brady at all in it. I actually think he's quite likeable, and I think he's very, in contrast to Rooney, I think he's very good at all the PR stuff.
I think it's quite clear as well. Those two did not get on. It doesn't matter how the documentary sort of frames that conversation.
Yeah.
But the one that's gone viral, I think it's quite obvious that they know each other as a very good, famous sportsman. They just don't get on. And I also think as well, I wonder if John Eustace didn't quite get on with Brady from the little bits we see of him in those briefings. And Chris Davies, I don't think he quite likes the same criticisms I have of Tom Wagner and Brady is that they're owners that love to be in the limelight. They want themselves in front of the camera. Chris Davies is actually quite the opposite. At least
sure.
He's quite quiet outside of the dressing room. He seems quite down to earth. I don't think he quite likes a lot of the noise that the owners create, but while it gives him the opportunity to get results on the pitch, I think he lives with it. I don't think he quite likes it. That's kind of how I get it. And I don't think many managers would like noisy owners like that.
That's fair. I don't agree with the Rooney not getting on with Brady. I think obviously this week, an interview's come out with Rooney where he's saying he only met him once and so on.
Yeah.
And that was the game. It was before the Rotherham game when Brady was over. And oh gosh, less said about that the better. I wouldn't say they didn't get along. I reckon they barely met. I bet they barely know each other. Yeah. And that's again the whole Brady. I'm not sure about a coach's work ethic comment and so on. I think it's just the sound. I think it's a part of the narrative. I bet he didn't really have any doubts about it. I bet it's just. Because at that point, it's still fairly fairly early on in Rooney's tenure? He was around, I think that was in the November, and I think he left in the January. I think Brady is, I think you've got to accept he's a superstar, and he's mostly a face for it. I don't actually think he has that much input in it.
True.
Yeah, that's my, I wouldn't say he didn't get on with them either. I think it's...
As I said, Rob McInerney says a couple of things. One of them is he just keeps calling it football because he owns a football club. And the other bit is the two of them having a conversation before the match. And I can't remember exactly what they said, but...
Brady and McInerney.
Yeah. And McInerney says, we let the football guys do the football. We don't know anything about football. We do the marketing. Yeah. We let the football guys do the football stuff. We're just the face of it. And I think it would benefit the documentary if Brady had gone with that, but I don't think that's how he wants to showcase himself in this. He wants to showcase himself as... him and Wagner, they're level together, driving through it together, and I agree it's not the case.
Sure, I think my main issue with Brady, and I like Brady. I think I accept it for what it is, which I think he is mainly there to be a charismatic lead to get this thing sold and get eyes on it, and that is clearly the main goal with this. Something I forgot to say in my review was mainly in episode 1. I think I slightly defended Rooney. I did defend Rooney a bit, and I know we had a couple of very fair comments on it. Again, it was all a disaster, but I think what I said in it was I feel like Rooney is slightly not stitched up because it's just showing. It's what documentaries do. There's the bit where Rooney and Brady are chatting.
Yeah.
And Rooney says, it's a bit of an awkward conversation, and Rooney's like, oh, well, you're coming into the meeting and whatever. That's one of the few times we actually see them chat. And I don't know what you think of this, but so it's little things like it might have just naturally been how it was. Rooney's kind of sat down, Brady's stood over him, kind of subliminally creates this like power thing. Rooney's kind of this. Brady must be older than Rooney. He's probably about 10 years older than Rooney. He's definitely older anyway. Brady's like this alpha male. Rooney looks like Rooney.
Yeah.
But to me, that makes it, in the moment it was a very awkward conversation. It made it subliminally look like there was some sort of tension there.
Yeah.
When all I think it is I think Rooney is. He's always been bad on camera, hasn't he? Even as a player, he's always been awkward and not bad on. He's just himself, isn't he? He's not very good at all the PR stuff, and so that's all I think it is. I think he's very uncomfortable and he's got a camera on him. He's probably not been trained to be. The documentary crew of what they do on a lot of these things is. They go around the staff weeks before they even start filming, and the staff get comfortable and used to their presence there, so that when the cameras are properly on, they're just themselves.
Yeah.
I bet this in no way is what happened. They want to catch Rooney, or they just caught him with no training.
Because I think they were following Brady in, weren't they?
Exactly.
And so Rooney's just happened to have come back from training.
Exactly, and I think it's just him being a bit awkward and not knowing what to say on camera. And then there's a bit where. He's in a meeting, and he's doing a presentation on a whiteboard or on the PowerPoint, and someone walks in and he goes, "Do you want to do it?" I don't know if you remember that.
Oh
bit.
yeah.
To me, and I've seen a few people say this online, they think he's saying to Brady, "Do you want to do it?"
Yes.
But surely he's not. Because if Brady...
I think it's meant to be a joke of, Tom, do you want to do it?
I don't even think he's talking to Tom Brady. I think it's something completely unrelated. I think it's probably one of the coaches who's walked in. Because bear in mind, Tom Brady's the star of this thing.
Yeah.
Why would Tom Brady be walking in late, for one? And if he is, there'd be a camera on him.
Yeah.
I think that's something completely unrelated, and they've tried to make it look like is that.
Do you think Rooney regretted taking the job in some of the scenes where we see him? I think we see him go, what have I got myself into?
Maybe. But there was no reason for him to fail, really. Not to fail. Because remember when Rooney came in?
I mean, I also wrote something here. The Rooney hire reeks of when in the Spurs documentary they sacked Pochettino for Mourinho.
Yes.
It is so similar.
But that Spurs documentary, I didn't finish it, to be fair. But that's the Mourinho show, right?
Yeah.
And whatever you think of Mourinho as a manager, he's so charismatic. He's a great leading man. So they could... That documentary, Mourinho is in that, what Brady is in this. But my point was, something I find really odd is, they knew they were making this documentary. So why... Rooney is, especially for an American audience, and I'm not disparaging the Liverpoolian accent here, or anything like that.
He's not a superstar for your manager for your documentary.
No, he's a really weirdly... Chris Davies is very natural, and he talks really well, and he's easy to understand. Rooney isn't. So he's a really weird... in many ways, it's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Because they must have known that was going to happen. So yeah, that'd be something I thought anyway. Not to interrupt again, but you referenced it to The Apprentice.
Yeah.
My main issue with Brady in it, as much as I like him in it, there's a lot of... And Davies, I think, is the same. There's a lot of, I have no fear, I'll drop dead before this job fails. The Apprentice is I think it's very dated now. Yeah. Because that's how they all talk on it still.
Yeah.
I think that was fine 15 years ago, but I think now it's not the real. Especially now when we used to watch that show as kids and we'd be like, yes, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
As adults, it's not real. You watch it and you're like, it's bollocks. It's like this whole I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, go ahead, you'll be dead by the time 20 years earlier than you should be.
Yeah.
It's not real. Like in the mental health era, that stuff's really dated in my opinion, and there's a bit too much of that in this. I think there's not enough of that human aspect of Brady says stuff like, when I got on that pitch I made sure they'd never drop me ever again. I'm sure Tom Brady has had a million doubters and having to overcome obstacles throughout his whole career. That's how we should approach it. Failure is okay and that makes you better.
Yeah.
Instead it's
you learn more from your mistakes. And they really could have done that with the Rooney hire and said, look, we made an absolute mess of it. We were trying to be too clever. We made a mistake. I actually think at the end of episode 1, Tom Wagner does take some responsibility for Birmingham getting relegated. Yeah. Brady, on the other hand, doesn't, and he just slags all the players off and says, "We're just going to get a new team," and it's like, we're just going to buy a new team. It's pretty much it. Because he said that, I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, that team shouldn't have gone down. Or the reason we went down is because the players are rubbish, not because we sacked a manager when we were 6th in the league. The man we hired, it went terribly wrong, so we sacked him after about 4 months. Yeah. Then it happened to be that the new man we came in got ill immediately. We didn't replace him straight away, and so his assistant had 6 games in charge, and we lost all of them. And by the point that we brought in someone to try and get us over the line, it was too late.
On a side note on that, this happens a couple of times. Not to go off topic, but the bit when it's at the end of episode 1 when he's sat in his penthouse wherever he is, and he's he's saying, "Oh, we're just gonna buy a new. It's not good enough." Why is he watching everything on a little iPad? He's got a massive TV behind him. Yeah. I know it doesn't matter. That's such a weird framing thing though. It's fair enough.
He's watching a dodgy stream.
Maybe he's in a hotel. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Because there's something similar. Because he watches. Which one is it?
The Newcastle game he watches.
That's it. He watches the Newcastle game on the iPad, which is weird because I expect him to be there, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, got a meeting with."
And he leaves halfway through.
Yeah, he leaves halfway through the game, but he phones his mate or his brother or he phones someone at half.
His son, yeah.
He phones somebody at half time, and it's just he's like, "Oh yeah, got a meeting with Cisco," and they're doing this. I thought you'd be at the game because you do you went to the Wrexham game. Yeah. It's just.
That's fair enough. I think you've been a little harsh on Brady's.
I found him so insufferable.
Fair enough.
I did not like him. Tom Wagner, I don't like either, but he comes across really well in the documentary. I don't like his performative stuff, and as we suspected at the time, they made sure that their charade at Wembley, they had the cameras and the microphone in there, and it was all for the documentary.
Yeah, and all this stuff.
Stick that in the documentary, lads.
See, to me, and again, I think a slight counterpoint. I think you were saying about, what was it? You said something about Brady. I think his whole I think because he probably isn't as involved as we all think. He's a and not as we all think. I think a lot of us know he's mainly a face for it and a leading man for this sort of thing and a promotional thing. And I'm sure he does help. I'm sure he is. I'm sure his people help, and he's more of a delegator. But there's things like not to jump ahead, but at the end of the Peterborough one when he goes stick that in your documentary, lads. And at the very start when he's in the car and he's asked about Villa.
Yeah. That was it. Aston Villa mentioned 30 seconds into it.
I think it's all just I think it's a bit, and I think it's okay. I think he's not. American sports fans are very different to British sports fans, and he probably knows British sports fans have a lot of needle about them, especially in football. And he's probably gone, that's how they talk, and so that's just all it is. I think he's just trying to be one of us, really. So I don't think I think it's all good-hearted. I think it all means well. I
will come on to some of the stuff that I did like at some point. Yeah, it's just easier to get all the moaning out of the way now.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I get it. This is trying to be a rivalry to Welcome to Wrexham. Yeah. As a documentary. They're trying to create some sort of rivalry with Wrexham. One of the most fierce derbies in the country involves this club. Yeah. I know we haven't played each other in a long time. And I know that you didn't have any real local derbies last year. But in the Championship, you've got Coventry, you've got West Brom. You had obviously played both of them in the season that's mostly been cut. Yeah. Stop trying to force a rivalry with Wrexham. Obviously, I get it. You're catering to an American audience that watch Welcome to Wrexham on Disney+. And I do understand that. But rather that you could narratively you could be like, you think this is what we're going to be rivaling about. This ain't nothing to us. Villa are the big fish. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there's a bit of that. Marty and I said I think the Wrexham stuff, it was all fair to include it because it's fortunate for them that they were a main rival. They finished second, so it was, and our two games against them were really good. Yeah. I know we drew away, but it was a proper backs to the wall. We were very lucky to get a draw out of it. I think the main issue with it is it felt a bit like they've seen how successful Wrexham have been, and it felt like them saying, it felt like trying to ride on their coattails a bit. Yeah. They talk about Wrexham a lot. Yeah. And it's also a bit of, how do I describe it? There's a lot of them saying Wrexham aren't our goal. They said we're a bigger club than Wrexham. Wrexham have a ceiling, we don't. We want to be in the top 10 regularly with Villa in the Premier League. Yeah. And that's all fair. But I feel like they're trying to convince, say, an American audience. They're trying to say, we're better than Wrexham, which we are. They're trying to say, we're better than them, we're bigger than them. That's not why people love Wrexham. No.
People love Wrexham because they love Rob McInerney and they love Ryan Reynolds. And it's almost... And the journey that Wrexham have been on, granted, a lot of money's been pumped into them. But they're it's like a Ted Lasso, and they fully embrace that. Yeah. This isn't like that. They don't want to be, but this Tom Wagner does not want Blues to be seen like AFC Richmond in Ted Lasso, because he wants the club to be taken seriously, like a well-established Premier League team. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McInerney don't. That's what lures people to Wrexham, so it makes sense for them to go down that sort of route. Yeah,
I think they've just slightly rushed that. I think what they're trying to say is we're better than Wrexham, we're bigger than them. If that's all people cared about, they'd all support Liverpool and Arsenal and Man City. People love Wrexham because of the story and the journey and this this kind of rags to riches story.
David Goliath.
Yeah, and I think they've slightly missed that. I think it's. Not missed it, but I think they've just gone through it too quick. Yeah. Again, going back to my point, they should have spent longer on that failure. Yeah. But yeah, anyway. What did you think of... That's kind of mainly episode 1. What did you think of the rest of the series, really?
I thought the good bits are really good. And the best bits of that... So I talked briefly, the Curse of St Andrews in episode 1. Brilliant. Yeah. in episode 2, you've got. Is it episode 2? No.
2's mainly the Wrexham one. 3's the Zulus.
Yeah,
and
the Zulu stuff. Amazing.
I think 3's the best episode.
Yeah, and you've also got the Jay and Adams Stansfield stuff, which is such a it's very poignant. I'm glad they included it because I remember when Jay first signed for Blues, and I think could he score on debut?
Plymouth. Plymouth.
And it was a big deal because of that.
Yeah.
I'm glad they included it. It was great. It's easily the best sequence.
Yeah,
in the whole thing.
It's a lot of the emotional heart of that episode of the series in that episode, because I think episode 2 I think is the weakest.
Yeah.
Even though the Wrexham game was great, it's very Americanized. That one is the most Americanized episode. I think 3 is the most Blues centric. Still struggles a bit with the back and forth, and after the Zulus there's a bit in Miami, and that's a bit jarring. But it is definitely the best episode.
And it touches on the multiculturalism of Birmingham.
There's
the issues of football hooliganism that we had in this country in the 80s and racism and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's really well put together and it is brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought the fan interviews were fantastic.
They're all great. Yeah.
Paul Collins is the star of this documentary.
Do you think? Is he the really
not Tom Brady.
Is he the really negative
in the
one?
flat cap?
Yeah.
I think he had a line in episode 1 where he goes, Birmingham City have been the experts in fucking it up since 1875.
Yeah.
And it's something that, as a Villa fan, I can relate to because something happens, it's classic Villa, or an Arsenal fan, it's, oh God, obviously only Arsenal would do that, or Spursy. Yeah. It's something that every football fan can relate to their own team. I thought, just throughout it, he was a real star, but the fans in general...
They're all good.
Were brilliant.
My favourite two is it Patton Mavis, or whatever their name. Sorry, I can't remember their names. They're brilliant. They're very funny as well. They're very they're very natural. Brummy Joe's really good at it. Obviously, he's very comfortable on camera.
When you get to Wembley and she comes off the bus, it's just dead silent. You're waiting for someone to get off. Who's coming off the bus? And she's off with the big blue and white checkered hat, and the foam thing. It is brilliant because we're all the same at Wembley. Yeah. I walk around Wembley Way for the FA Cup semi-final. Got the big flag draped over me like a cape. Kids are in. People got face paint. Yeah, man. Masks. That's everything that going to Wembley is all about.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I completely agree. They were all great. They were needed as well. You need that. Yeah.
Chris Davies, I thought he comes across brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, really well.
What did you think of all the? I think is it episode 3 where we meet his wife and kids and a bit more of his backstory and stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's a quiet guy. I don't know how much he really wanted to have the cameras there in his private life, but he's clearly seen it as that he has to do it, or it's a necessity.
It's probably something they'll have said to him as soon as he walks
and there's probably some of it. Well, I don't want them there, but I could be sacked next year. This could be good for my PR going forward, and so I think he takes it as a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But I think he comes across really well. There's a bit in the garden, I think, in episode 5, and it just feels a bit awkward because I don't think any of them really want the cameras there, and it's almost like a forced family sit down sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas it might be a bit more natural if the kids are just off doing what kids do. You just see clips of them kicking a football around or playing in the mud. I don't know.
I think it helps humanise him. I've always found him very. He's
incredibly driven.
He's incredibly driven, but he's also incredibly intense and quite. It helps humanise him just a little bit, which as a Blues fan I appreciate.
I think if I was a player, I'd quite like him as a manager.
Yeah, for sure.
From the way that he came across, I did not play to a very high level at all, but I think I would have really liked working with Chris Davies.
Yeah, it's not hard to see why they all super respect him. So yeah, that helps.
Something I found quite interesting. Gary Cook completely missing in action.
It's exactly what
you see him in maybe 2 shots in the entire thing, and that really surprised me.
Yeah, I said that, and again it goes back to how we feel like we're seeing season 2. I wonder if in season 1 he would have been more of a main character in the original cut of this, the original vision for it, because he was so. I mean, when Rooney's introduced, he's sat next to him when in his press conference. Yeah, there's a bit where...
He doesn't speak at all in it.
No, he's seen in a couple of shots, and then there's a bit where Tom Wagner's on the phone to him, which is also a bit of a weird scene to include, because they're just talking about giving a scarf to David Beckham or something. That's a really weird scene.
Oh, it's with Brady. No,
in the car.
It's with Brady, yeah.
Yeah, it's in episode 2, I think. It's just a weird... It's not bad, I just don't know.
I wrote it down. Tom Brady loves a freebie.
Yeah, it was an odd thing. It's given... I'm not against it, but it's giving a rich guy a free gift. I don't know
that he
why
doesn't want.
Yeah, I don't know why it's. I just don't know what they were getting. I don't know what they were getting at.
And it's also interesting as well in what didn't make. Christian Bielik was meant to be a big character or was in Series 1 that never got made.
Yeah.
And was meant to be in Series 2 because we see him quite early on, because at the start of Episode 2, he's one of the sit-down interviews, and he says, we didn't deserve to go down. Well, you did, because you played a 46-game league season and you finished third bottom, whether you like it or not, you did deserve to go down. Yeah. So that was a weird one. But again, because he barely played, and he's now left, which you were going to talk about later, he was obviously meant to be... he must have been a big character in the first series, obviously, as the club captain, and him staying was probably meant to be a big thing. Yeah. Because it was a big thing this time last year that he'd stayed on.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree.
We see a bit of Craig Gardner.
Yeah. Again, I think in a longer cut of the series, though, I think you could have... We know as fans what a significance he has to Blues. I don't know if... I mean, we do because we live in the area. I don't know if someone in London watching it would know his real significance of the club. They probably don't remember that he scored the goal that got us to Wembley and whatever.
Yeah. I think... Or that he played for Villa Blues and West Brom. And you wouldn't think that he ever played for Villa but we hate him a lot and he hates us a lot these days. There
was a bit where it's when it cuts to the draw for the Newcastle game. I think it's episode 4. I think the draw was at the Emirates Stadium, and I can't remember what the line is before, but there's a line and then it cuts to the Emirates Stadium, and I actually thought it was going to go into a thing of the one success we have had, which was the Carling Cup, and I was like, perfect, you got Craig Gardner there, someone who has seen the one bit of success, and I thought that would have been a nice piece as well, would have humanised Craig Gardner a bit more. But doesn't really go into that at all, really. But
I think if Tom Brady's not in this documentary, you see more of the likes of Craig Gardner and people like that. Yeah. Talking about people who are quite good in it, the steward.
The fan who's.
There's the woman who's a steward.
With her daughter.
Possibly.
Yeah. She's the short woman with the. Yeah. I agree.
There's a section in this where we spend 5 minutes talking about the Super Bowl. Why? I do not care. I could not care less about the Super Bowl. I'm watching a documentary about Birmingham City, and then we compare the Super Bowl to the fourth round of the FA Cup. We're like, what?
But again, I think that's my point of this documentary doesn't get made without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You have to accept that straight away. And the point of the documentary is to get fans in America, let's be honest. So they need to have a bit of that. I think it is very jarring. It doesn't always gel. I think individually they're all interesting sections, but it doesn't always gel. But they've got to have them both there to sell the documentary.
Yeah.
Again, I think if the documentary was longer, that can all breathe and feel more natural. As it is, you have episode 3 is, even though it's the best episode, you have a section on the Zulus, and then we go to Miami, and then we come back to Birmingham. It's a very jarring mix. Even if it does work individually on its own. Yeah.
I also feel in episode 5 the ending's a bit rushed.
Yeah.
You have the Wembley defeat and then you just rattle through the end of the season of here's the points record, great, here's Chris Davidson's garden, bye.
It's a weird I thought
they didn't know how to wrap it up.
The weird thing is I think I forgot to say this in my review, the Wembley defeat obviously was gutting and still I'm like, how do we blow that so badly? One small positive out of it is that it gave the documentary it did give it that bit of failure.
Yeah.
Maybe though they should, again, if it was longer, I would have had that, even though it was right near the end of the season, I would have had that as the end of your penultimate episode.
Yeah.
So you have that bit of failure, and then the last episode is about getting the points record.
Yeah.
As it is
the trophy left for the winning the league.
Yeah, because then you have that bit of this might sound like a really weird segue, but do you remember some games called Mass Effect on the Xbox? They were.
It's going to be a really rogue niche reference that most of our viewers won't understand.
Yeah, for sure. But it just reminded me of this. Is my point. So the last episode cycles through all of. It introduces the Virtue Trophy as a concept, the failure in the Virtue Trophy, and then promotion and the points record. It's a lot to get in. Yeah. As I say, I would have had the Virtue Trophy failure be at the end of the penultimate episode, and then that pick up at the end, because I think the issue with. Again, ending with it is a nice way to end with the points record, and that is a very significant thing to cover. But it is I remember the Mass Effect games, a weird comparison, but what I'm saying is, so they were acclaimed games, but everyone kicked off about the ending, because at the very end you find out what's happening, and then you're given a choice, but that choice is based on they introduce basically a new conflict at the very end, and you have to make a choice based on that affects everything really. You're kind of introduced to a new problem, and so that's what everyone complained about. It didn't actually have a lot to do with the build-up. Basically, it was all a bit of an overreaction, but so it basically introduced a new problem right at the very end, and I think that's kind of what this does. It introduces the points record. It's not something that's built up to or worked towards. Can Blues beat the points record? It's almost. I think it's actually first mentioned after the Virtue Trophy final.
Yeah, because you get promoted and win the league at the start of the episode.
Yeah.
And then you have the points record is a complete afterthought after you've already lost the Virtue Trophy.
I think thankfully for them, it created a positive ending.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I think the Virtue Trophy final, if you're going to have that in the last episode, that's an interesting point to end on almost.
Yeah.
You could have covered the points record in the promotion bit just before it.
Yeah.
Ending with that failure actually sets it up quite nicely for like a second series. Like there's a long way to go still.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was maybe a missed opportunity there. Do you not think as well they didn't make enough of a big deal of? There's two things I don't think that I forgot to mention that I don't think they give enough attention to as a big deal. One of them is that Eustace was the Blackburn manager.
Yeah.
At the end of, they mention it, but we only know Eustace briefly. So from the documentary, so I don't think that has enough impact. And the other thing is Peterborough. We played them in the promotion game.
They don't really mention that you beat them at their patch, won the league, and celebrated on the pitch for an hour.
Yeah, they don't really mention.
And then they battered you in the final a week later, that their goalkeeper is Jed Steer, who played for Aston Villa.
There we go. Yeah.
But again, you could be. We talked about them playing up the Wrexham rivalry, but you could play into that extra. You've got the second City derby there as well.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Did you have any other thoughts on the documentary then, Cal? Stuff that maybe stood out to you? Because that's kind of the 5 episodes kind of covered there.
Yeah, there's one last thing that I'd like to touch on, because I think I've covered it all of my notes, is that it's something that Brady says. I think it's Brady that says it. He goes, the football's not it's around when... It's under Chris Davies, and at some point he goes, the football's not easy on the eye. Oh, he definitely didn't say it, because he definitely said football. Somebody says it, I can't remember. Right. Somebody says the football's not easy on the eye, but it's getting results. And it was a nice contrast to what you were saying on the podcast throughout the majority of last year, that you'd go 1 or 2-0 up and then you just sort of like knock it about, and you won the league at a canter, but there wasn't many times that got you off your seat going, whoa.
Yeah, sure.
If that makes sense. So I thought it was a nice inclusion and very much corresponded to what you would say on this podcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
The entirety of last year.
That's fair. What did you think of it all as a production?
Well, they do have something else to say on that. So I actually know one of the camera operators that worked on this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's shot very well. I love the background for the sit-down interviews is great.
Yeah. It's very clean, isn't it? Like,
yeah. But where they do those sit-down interviews in that warehouse, it feels like Birmingham. It feels like you're in Big Buff.
Yeah, it probably is.
And because it probably is. Yeah. I think it's interesting. There's no EFL or Sky-owned footage in this, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't use if
it's match footage, it's all pitch level recorded by the club.
And it's all like the Blues commentators and stuff. Yeah, the Blues TV commentators. Yeah.
Which is interesting that they've clearly, because we work in television, and they clearly, Sky and the EFL are charging too much for that archive, or it's easier to do it without having to clear a load of archive.
Yeah.
So. Which is a shame that they didn't have some of the Sky Sports commentators in there more than the footage, because when you watch these documentaries, we've seen the games. I don't need to see. It's one of the problems I have with Drive to Survive is re-edited race footage from camera angles that I've seen already because I watch the races.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where you get some slightly different angles. Yeah. Is quite nice for that.
I referenced Drive to Survive in the last review about how the sort of product angle of it. So you can still enjoy it. Absolutely, you can still enjoy it. And I enjoy both of them, this and Drive to Survive. But I accept them for what they are. It's like the new F1 movie, which you had thoughts on.
Yeah.
It is ultimately a product. It is a very expensive advert. A very good. I think it's a very good one. But it's like this documentary. I know you didn't think that, but I have to it's like this documentary. I just accepted very early on why it's being made and what it was, and then that's how I was able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I completely respect opinions that say it that don't think that.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
I am as far away from the target audience of this documentary as you could probably possibly get.
Yeah, sure.
So that's just kind of my thoughts. I mean, how did it take Drive to Survive as an F1 fan? Drive to Survive is not for me, and as a result, I don't really like it.
Sure.
You are not really the target audience for this either.
No.
but it is about your club.
Yes.
So
I think it's. I really enjoyed it, despite all the criticisms which we've got a bit more into here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's perfect. I think it's a really. I found it very surreal. It's like a. It's this. I compared it to like on when we first talked about it when it was announced.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the season review DVDs you'd have as a kid or as a teenager? They're like these standard def game by game reviews. This is like a Hollywood version of one of them.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice thing to have. I'd definitely watch the second series. It's nice to see my club represented on that scale. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it. If I'm being as objective as possible, I think something like Sunderland Till I Die is far more effective in the story it's telling. But I'd definitely be interested to see where it goes next. I think hopefully they learn from some of the feedback and some of the criticisms, because I think there's the potential to have something really special there. And I mean, I suppose it leads to a question of will they do a second series? I think they probably will. Look like the cameras were out at the Ipswich game last week. And this is not the plan with this is not a one season thing, is it? You know,
it all comes back to it's trying to be a rival to Welcome to Wrexham, which means it's not going to be a one season wonder.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it? It might be a 2 season wonder if nobody watches it.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be another series.
Yeah, and I think people are watching it. I think it will do. I do see it doing well enough in America, and I think it for all maybe criticisms we have of the Americanization of it. I think they've probably done a pretty decent job of getting fans on board again. So I understand why they've done all that and gone down that route. One last point on it. What did you think of the Peaky Blinders footage in it? What did you? Something I forgot to mention.
Really cheesy, not needed. It's not for me.
I thought it was. When it was good, it was good. I thought it was just overused a bit. There's a bit where Tommy says...
It's because is it the exec producer or the producer of this is the guy...
That's Stephen Knight who's in it.
Yeah, and he's in it. And so I understand why they've used it. But, yeah, for me, I didn't need that in there.
Fair enough. I would summarise by saying I'm happy it exists. I think it's a kind of a bit very surreal but very exciting to see Blues on this scale in this Hollywood level documentary. It's quite easy to see through and pick apart at times, but I think there's a lot more positive than there is negative. Is my opinion on it. So I think that just about sums us up on the old Blues doc.
That's our thoughts on the Blues doc.
Yeah. Should we talk very very quickly before we wrap up? Obviously we're recording this on Friday night. The season is about to start. You're going Villa Newcastle tomorrow. Yeah. Excited?
Very excited. First game of the season, 12:30 kick-off. The sun's going to be out. Cannot wait. Awesome. It's a shame Jacob Ramsey's about to leave. That is quite sad. It's never nice to see one of your own going. But and there's been a lot of other noise around Villa in terms of they probably can't really reinvest that money because of a settlement they have with UEFA. We've also been fined by the Premier League today for breaching the multi-ball system during a game last year.
All right.
But it's quite complicated to understand. But in particular, the last home game of the season against Spurs, we were using the ball boys to kind of abuse that multi-ball system to get the ball back into play much quicker. Probably because we were trying to win the game and it was 0-0 for a large portion of it.
Fair enough.
And so we've been fined, and so we're not allowed to use multi-ball for the first 3 home games of the season.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. Multi-ball. I never heard of it.
There you go.
Fair enough. And then very quickly, so Blues have played twice at the time of recording. Maybe next week on the next episode we'll get a bit more into what's been going on. Obviously, Ipswich was a great game last week. Had a great night. Great, unbelievable atmosphere. Very unlucky not to win. Thought we played very well. Obviously, some harsh decisions against us in there. But also Sheffield United midweek played really well. 2-1 win. Great atmosphere for a first round cup game. You like that Stansfield goal at the end. Some proper limbs on that actually. I thought.
I know it was. It'd be the same when we play in the third round at home. Probably if we play at home. Surprising lot of empty seats. I thought. Pretty much the one stand is completely empty. Isn't it?
But I think there's 17,000 there. Which I mean, I've seen smaller crowds than that for league games in the last couple of years at Blues. So look, I'll take it. For a first round cup game, that's the context of that. I thought it was pretty good. Lovely goal at the end as well. So very exciting times, and I'm pretty hopeful ahead of Blackburn tomorrow. I hope no one's listening to this and we've just lost 3-0 there or whatever. But yeah, very excited. The new signings look really good. Very quickly touch on, we had a new third kit come out this week, red kit. Again, it's very similar to stuff we've had before. I think it's fine. It's fine. I don't really know what the whole global launch was about. Shot in a beach in Los Angeles for the promo. Not really sure what that was all about, but it's fine. Some more big news as well. Just last night, Christian Bielik, Blues captain, has been sold to West Brom. Not a massive surprise. Kind of been very obviously. Kind of found himself a little out of favour behind Neumann and Clara and obviously Ben Davies last season. But a little surprised we've sold him to a fellow Championship team in West Brom.
And a team that could be a promotion rival?
Potentially, you never know. You never know in the Championship. But that aside, what a top guy. I think he's been a little unlucky not to play more the last year or so. First player to sign on for us last season and stick around when we went down. Proper character, got a lot of time for him, played over 100 times for Blues. If you're watching on YouTube, this kit, 16-17, was actually when he signed for us. First on loan. Can you remember who the manager was who signed him on loan from Arsenal?
16-17.
Yeah. Obviously, it was a few years later that he came back.
That would be the Redknapp Cottrell season.
No,
it's not Redknapp. It's the Cottrell Monk or
Zola signed him on loan. That's how long ago it was. I looked it up what was going on in the world. He signed 31st of January 2017. He was 19. Donald Trump was 11 days into his first term as president.
God.
That's how long ago it was. You think of everything that's happened in the world since then. But no, wish him all the best. Top player, and welcome back at Blues anytime. So yeah, I got a lot of time for him. But that just about wraps us up there. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you haven't already, watched my review as well from last week. And let us know your thoughts on the documentary as well. Do you agree or disagree with everything we've said? We'd love to hear your thoughts. So.
That camera stopped working today. So.
No, we got so close.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week, and up the Villa.
Keep right on. See you next time.